I just traveled in from the future to warn you that if you don't watch today's episode of AniMay18, your daily dose of anime every day in May, then this timeline is doomed to experience World War III. Please stand by as I recount the events of the SteinsGate movie, Region of Deja Vu. First of all, SteinsGate is a wonderful sci-fi thriller from 2011 based on an incredible visual novel of the same name. It tells the story of self-proclaimed mad scientist Rintaro Okabe, aka Hoin Kiyoma, and his fellow future gadget industries lab members, his airheaded childhood friend Mayuri, and the perverted hacker Daru, trying to scrape by making ridiculous inventions in their dinky old apartment. Okabe is quickly swept into a large conspiracy where he and his lab mates stumble upon the means to send text messages to the past, thereby altering the flow of history. It's a promising concept for a time-traveling thriller, but the way it really succeeds is in its witty writing and restrained scope. Sure, there's eventually a threat to nuclear warfare, but the main crux of the story centers around Okabe's attempts to relive the same couple of days over and over to prevent the deaths of two of his closest companions. It's not the most visually flashy animation, see visual novel, but the cast is incredibly likable and well realized, and the story is easy to pick up and get invested in. There's a reason this poster is one of the only anime-related things I own. It's really worth experiencing on your own, and I highly recommend it if you're interested in this film, and especially if you're planning to watch the new series SteinsGate Zero, which just started airing last month. I completed the original show 2 years ago, and even I had trouble remembering where all the characters stood after that finale. But for those who finished the series or are just interested in what this film has to offer, I will say that the SteinsGate movie is a worthwhile companion piece for those who want even more of what made the original special. I can't recommend it on its own, and it is even relevant to the events of Zero, but I'll get to that a little later. Region of Deja Vu, ugh, what a mouthful, takes place a year after the events of the original SteinsGate. Okabe saved the lives of Mayuri and his assistant and love interest Makise Kurisu, but parts ways with Kurisu at the end of the series. Kurisu is back from America now to attend another conference to give a lecture on her newest scientific findings and reunites with the whole crew for old time's sake. The traumatic events Okabe relived to realign the ideal time stream have had lasting effects on him, and being in close proximity with Kurisu again is causing him to have vivid visions of alternate timelines. This eventually causes his tether to this timeline to break, and he disappears not only from the world, but even from the minds of those he knows. It's as if he never existed at all, but the world moves on as if he had been there. With the help of Daru's daughter from the future, Suzuha, Kurisu builds her own time-leaping machine to find Okabe before he disappears. Rightly concerned and frustrated, Okabe pleads Kurisu to stop meddling with time and let him fade away or else suffer the same fate. It's up to Kurisu to ultimately decide if she's willing to honor Okabe's advice or find a way to save him. The story and presentation feel exactly like a continuation of the original series. The animation and design are still minimalistic, but the concepts and characters are strong and carry a lot of weight. I should also note that the English dub is phenomenal for all iterations, and the whole cast is memorably snarky. Flipping the perspective to be about Kurisu saving Okabe is an interesting twist and plays out a lot more like a romance than the original. Think The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, but with much more grounded sci-fi applications. Now get in the time machine and jump to this time marker to avoid spoilers for this movie. You have been warned. So Kurisu eventually goes back 6 years to when Okabe consoles Mayuri and presumably comes up with the Hoin Kiyoma alter ego. In an attempt to ground Okabe to the Alpha timeline and prevent his mind from wandering between timelines, Kurisu finds young Okabe, plants the idea of the brilliant mad scientist into his head, and seals the deal with a kiss. It was a really cute scene and actually a pretty satisfying explanation for Okabe's backstory and why his and Kurisu's fates seem intertwined. It obviously brings up a whole host of other questions, but I ultimately didn't mind. Just having the two of them reunited and finally getting together was enough for me, especially when I think about where they leave off after the series. They're both so pig-headed and intellectual that they fail to open up to one another and resort to bickering rather than truly coming closer. I only wish the series continued after that, because I think they make a pretty adorable couple. I'm sure there are plenty of alternate Okabe ships, all the girls are pretty likable, but that's where SteinsGate Zero comes in. Now, only a handful of episodes of Zero have come out so far, but an additional special came out to branch this alternate timeline to the original series. If SteinsGate ends as it originally does, this leads to the egoistic Poriomania special. Yeah, who knows with these titles. And then Deja Vu, this makes it the Alpha timeline. But if Okabe refuses to time travel again to save Kurisu in episode 23, allowing her to die and accepting the world as it is, he stays in the Beta timeline and the events of SteinsGate Zero take place. And boy does Okabe turn full Beta in this one. He's a bog-standard college boy now. Yeah, all these characters are like between the ages of 17 and 19. Go figure. Anyways, Okabe's gone complete normie and practically severs ties from his lab mates and their eclectic band of Akihabara friends as a way of separating himself from the heartache of the past summer. Now the eccentric centerpiece of the whole series is a limp noodle of a character and the whole dynamic gets flushed down the toilet. Thankfully, the show still retains its strong sci-fi concepts with advanced AI technology, and I'm sure time traveling of some kind inevitably, as well as a new incarnation of Kurisu, so one can only hope things will pick up and be as thrilling as the original. It feels sacrilegious to watch these new episodes subbed because the English voice acting is one of my favorite aspects of the series. I just can't get into Daru or Okabe's Japanese voices, and then there's this new character, Dr. Leskinen, who sounds like a Japanese guy trying to do a German-American voice, and it's hysterical.
Japanese maid girl? Cat girl?
But I guess the only thing affected by the beta timeline was Suzuha's bust size. But like I mentioned, everything hinges on having seen the original SteinsGate, and if you haven't, it comes with one of my highest recommendations. Great characters, intriguing mysteries, and a really well-realized time travel story that actually kind of makes sense. If you love that series, then by all means, the movie is a great conclusion to that narrative, and I'm sure Zero will be an interesting twist on the established story. Now, if you excuse me, the me from this timeline is about to come back and start working on tomorrow's episode of AniMay18, so I gotta get out of here to prevent a time paradox. Hey guys, welcome to AniMay18, your daily dose of... Wait a minute. Why do I feel like I've already done the episode for today? Maybe 31 days of anime in a row is too much for my brain to handle. I think I'm gonna lie down for a while.